Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough. How are we doing today? I'm excited. We have a lot to talk about this week because a lot of crap went down. But I'll go ahead and start off as normal. If you're new here, again, my name is Doug. This is 2 Plus Tough, and every Friday I try to get a little show together, a little more structured than my other live streams, which are mostly just hobby hangouts. And I just realized I'm not playing any music, and that's a bummer. So give me just a second, we'll do that. But essentially, it's just a chance to kind of interact with people, answer and ask questions, and just kind of go over a few topics that people like to be kept in the loop in. So as far as like my hobby progress, what I've been painting lately, games I've been able to play, as well as industry news, that kind of stuff. Between stuff like Fantasy Flight, Games Workshop obviously is going to be the main headliner today for obvious reasons. Hopefully. Let's see if we can get some beats going here. And if anyone can just tell me if you can hear and see me okay, I would greatly appreciate it. Let me pop out the chat. Herp. Okay, Mortian57. Hey, buddy. Sweet. Okay, so things seem to be working just fine. I was in a little bit of a rush this morning, so I apologize if I seem a little, unprepared. So, let's kind of jump in here as we normally do with my hobby progress. And for that, we'll go to the downward cam here. And what have I been working on? Well, basically, I had a change of heart, you see, where I think I talked about this last week. I was playing Star Wars Legion, which I've had a great time playing with. My local group is super nice. And I had started with droids, not knowing that they were sort of a horde army. And then I ended up being like, I love the game. I like my local group. I just don't want a horde army. And so I was like looking to basically trade the droids out for something else. And so actually the store owner, who is also a huge Legion player, reached out and was like, hey, we can build lists that aren't just like horde focused, where it's just jamming as many units on the table as possible. And so that's exactly what I did. So rather than getting rid of the separatist droids for a Legion, I went ahead and leaned in. I got a couple more sets of stuff just so I can play the kind of army that I want to play. So we have BX droids, which are all of these guys. They're not quite all done, but they're almost done. And so just to give you a sense of price disparity between Legion and Games Workshop, for $34 you get 2 full units. So that's crazy. One is a commando unit and one's like a sniper unit of 2 men. That's pretty cool. So anyway, there's that. So we got a bunch of BX droids. I built and primed some droidicas, the rollerball guys from Phantom Menace and other videos. And these guys, which I'm actually annoyingly proud of. These are the Stap Riders, the little like motorbike things that the B1 droids have. And I went ahead and magnetized them to that little flight stand so they can like whirl around if I'm doing a hard turn, that kind of stuff. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much my hobby progress. It's been a very busy week. To give you a peek behind the curtain on the business end of things, really have a lot of stuff going on. A lot of things that I think you're going to be excited for here on the channel. But as far as painting goes, that's pretty much it. I'm actually going to pick up some Gray Seer primer and get back to my Slaves to Darkness. So that's pretty much what I've got going on. What I'll do is, rather than, asking or responding to people in real time and kind of interrupting my flow, between sections of this show, I open it up to questions, comments. So friends, if you have any questions or comments or want to ask anything about Star Wars Legion or what I've been painting and that kind of stuff, or the Slaves to Darkness, go ahead and ask it, or feel free to just tell me what you're working on. So while that's going down, I'm going to open an extra super cool box of awesomeness that was sent to me, and it just got to me this morning. Because it's not really hobby progress, but it's still something I want to show off. Anyway, it's the perfect filler while you guys are telling us how are the Hot Pockets going. It's funny you mentioned the Hot Pockets, as was a joke from another stream where people in the UK didn't know what the hell I was talking about with Hot Pockets. They actually had a massive recall this week. My wife works on like a food blog, and apparently like some 750,000 Hot Pockets were recalled because there was like pieces of glass in them or something. Glass and plastic, I believe. So, be safe out there. Hot Pocket responsibly, I guess. Sweet Moses. Okay. So, some of the episodes this coming week are going to have a sponsor, and there's even going to be a giveaway of something you might be interested in. So kind of stay tuned. Those of you, how many are we at? 28 concurrent viewers who are awake enough to watch the stream have an edge because you know it's coming. But basically, the wonderful guys over at Tinker Turf, if you don't know, incredible terrain, pre-painted and everything like that, and they have some super cool designs that I'll be showing off this coming week. But they sent me some stuff to kind of aid in helping kind of get some awareness for a Kickstarter they have going right now for their next batch of designs. And they sent me this and a bunch of other stuff to do giveaways and that kind of thing. So giving away a whole bunch of sci-fi, terrain, awesome stuff. This is going to look amazing next to my Games Workshop Necromunda terrain, which I'll show off the comparisons later on. But yeah, so we got a bunch of cool stuff here. Let's see. So there were 2 industrial starters. Okay, so one of those will be a giveaway. One's for me to build on stream. Here's my personal favorite, which is the maglev. So it's essentially train rails and carts that go on it. Let's see. Jack, buddy, we will get there as we talk about the news. I'm just going over hobby progress of stuff I've gotten and procured. Okay, so it looks like... Oh man, I think he sent me more than he said he did, because this is the depot. It's like a train station that the train cars lead into, so that's kind of rad. Okay, another copy. Okay, so I got 2 copies of each of these. Sweet! Well, that means me and somebody else are going to have one hell of a table. I like it. So anyway, yeah, later in this week you're going to see a video about a giveaway for these guys. Like I said, you know, it's one of those things. There's nothing easier than trying to support other people in this hobby who are, you know, small business owners. They're not made of money. They're not this massive organization, just like I'm not swimming in cash as a YouTuber, my God. But that kind of stuff, it does help. So if you're interested in kind of like seeing what the kits are, I put their link to the Kickstarter in the description down below. But it's funny because they're kind of like, let me get it. So it might be easy to think that because of their general shape that they would be very like MDF style in terms of like very blocky, very hard right angles. However, they have a curved satellite dome, which is just an amazing feat. It blows my mind. Like they have a SATCOM array, which is just this big bowl of a satellite that actually spins. It's so freaking cool. So anyway, go check those out if you have any interest. I know for me, I still have my Necromunda stuff, and that's something I want to do eventually. But we'll move on. As far as games played, sadly, not a whole lot of games played this last week. Like I said, it was very hectic on my end over here. And so I didn't make it till Legion night because I need to stay home and help Jess with a few things that evening. And then on my normal Soulbound night, like about 25, no, it was a little bit earlier than that, like 45 minutes before we were supposed to go live and play Soulbound, my buddy calls me up and it's like, dude, I'm stuck in a snow ditch. Can you come help? There was a snowstorm going on that day, and so I bolted out to make sure he didn't have to sleep in his car. Missed my Soulbound night, so I'm very sad about that, but the tales of heroism, I'm told, are very, very cool. So I'll get back with a report on my role-playing game antics here pretty soon. My friend's fine. You know, there was no danger. He didn't crash or anything like that. He just literally got his car or his work truck stuck in a ditch. The back wheel was just off the ground enough. Oh, such a pain. Anyway, but we got him. Everything's safe and sound. I just missed my game nights. So that's unfortunate because I like getting out and just hanging with people, gaming, that kind of stuff. So anyway, all that is just a precursor to the news. Okay, so we have a bunch of articles. I'm going to start with the one that I'm sure people are most dying to talk about because it literally just got released. I'm going to pause the music. And I am going to play this video, even though I don't usually. So we have here Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Love the logo still. Okay. So we've got Techless. Can I just say I love this style of art? I know you probably can't hear a whole lot of what he's saying, but he's just Teclis being dodgy. I feel like if this kind of art was released with Luminesce, I would have liked it quite a bit more. Like, this is very engaging looking, and I'm just like, yes. I'm going to pause here. These are interesting to me because they could be construed as like Night Haunt, you know, they have the big flowing capes and that kind of stuff. But I desperately want there to be some kind of zombie or thrall, you know, which is how I probably describe these guys for the vampires. And that's always been my thing. I said it in my video that I just really, really, really want to have new zombies or undead stuff, because then I would be in like Flynn. What a sourpuss face that guy has. Okay. Okay, we see our normal sword. Okay, we have sword boys over here, which honestly look like great swords, because the basic infantry is just spearmen, so that's interesting. And we have all of the mountain boys. Okay. I love it. Love everything about it. Light, power, and balance. Very excited to jump into the short stories that are going to be in support of this, to be honest with you. So that is the article. Let me turn our music back on just to hang out and chill. Could not be more excited. We got some models here to talk about here in a smidge that have already been spoiled, but I assume tomorrow, if you don't know, there is a big reveal. I assume what we know is going to be a part of that. So I'm going to go ahead and read the comments here because I want to pause here. This is a big old thing. So let's chew on this for a hot sec. Nathan says, I'm so pumped for Teclis versus vampires. Yeah. Oh yeah, he's fine. My friend's fine. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You'd see elves with normal helmets at the end and swords. Yeah, I did catch that, Will. Yeah, they looked like the old great swords. So that's cool. I like it a lot, actually. And new skellies. Hopefully, like I said, I want some kind of thrall or something. Given the amazing Night Haunt line, seems more than reasonable they could amaze people with new zombies and skeletons. See, that's my thing. My deal is, I had a death army back before Legions of Nagash ever came out, like back old school AOS 1.0 when like Sylvaneth rocked the world because they got a battle tome with like a spell lore, you know, that kind of stuff. But my thing was, first of all, I hate the Games Workshop zombie models. Like I painted like I think 15 of them and I was like, nah, never again. And I love the idea of vampires because of the character-oriented armies. Like, you can just create lore for, like, 6 characters, and then everything else kind of trickles down from there. So I love that a lot. But the range wasn't able to keep up with what excited me about that thematically and lore-wise and all that kind of stuff. So if they can drop cool-looking thralls and a few vampire models that we already see, I'm going to be in trouble. I'm just going to say that, friends. So I'm going to read the blurb here that goes along with this for any friends on the road. It says, Teclis, twin god of the realm of Hysh, marches to war with a colossal host of Lumineth realm lords at his back, determined to bring an end to the catastrophic soul wars and punish Nagash for his hand in unleashing the Necroquake. That's rad. That twisted the fate of the mortal realms. The Archmage and his armies are sent to enact their judgment on the realm of Shyish itself. So, this whole time, I was thinking that the Broken Realms was going to be a story of of basically Grand Alliance order cracking at the seams, right? And that's kind of how I envisioned it for the longest time. But what I love is that I am now surprised because now it's like, okay, now we got a force of order who's taken the fight to somebody else. Like, I love that it's both. It's shaky grounds when it comes to your allies in the sense of Marathi super hosed so many people over in the last book when she attained godhood, but now we're going to the other side of it where it's Teclis being like, we're going to do a force for good, right? Nagash is messing with magic. I'm the god of magic, essentially. And we're going to go right the ship. It's kind of how he sounds. So I love it. But what trickeries does the great necromancer have in store for them? Can the purity of light banish the darkness of death itself? I would say probably not in Shyish. You'll have to wait for Broken Realms Teclis to find out. So I love it. I don't see anything. This looks like promotional art from the original Luminesce release. Yeah, because it's all the model kits that we have existing already. I don't see anything new in the corners or anything like that. But very cool stuff. In the meantime, new forces of Luminesce will muster to join their patrons' call to war. Join us for the preview, and then it kind of just pitches the preview. And then it gives you a link to Malign Sorcery if you want to learn more about the Necroquake. So nothing really new there. But I am super freaking pumped. Let me look at the chat here. Nicholas, just waiting for Nagash to kick this pointy dude out of his realm. Yeah, well, you know, Nagash is his best general is actually in the 8 points. Catacross is there. So the question, what I would love to see, if I'm being honest with you, let's do some hot takes real quick. I want to see Lady Olander go Super Saiyan. I want to see Neferata kind of become the Mortarch of the new Soul Blight line, which we're going to talk about here in a second, because I don't like the way the Legions of Nagash book functions right now, and I feel like she represents the Soul Blight and that Courts of Intrigue and Vampire Count stuff more than, say, Manfred does. That's just my opinion. I'd be happy if they were both in there, honestly, but so I like that quite a bit. So I want to see the Mortarchs really come to the fore of, like, show us why they exist. Like, it talks about Nagash being the main character, and he has these minions of Neferata and Manfred and Archon and all those kinds of guys doing things for him. But it's like, okay, if a threat enters Shyish, we've seen in Nagash Undying King how his Mortarchs respond. Neferata went tribe to tribe and has summoned an army together. Archon the Black was basically like a spy, sort of, like he used magic to kind of dictate, see where things were happening so he could be an informant of sorts. So we've seen the Mortarchs like mobilize, but I want to see something like a big narrative push. I think that would be really freaking cool. So yeah, just remind us why the Mortarchs are there, and particularly why maybe Manfred or certainly Neferata are so vital. So anyway, that's what I'd love to see. I want to see the forces of, Luminesce, but Order in general, go into Shyish and invade, right? Let's have the good guys be on the offensive again. I like it. Okay. They don't need to reinvent the wheel or Skelly, but just dynamic poses. I mean, they need to reinvent their Skellies. Let me take a look here. You want to see... If you want to see a face that is brimming with derp, let me throw this at you. All of these. This is the B team of the dead guys. This is like, I don't even know, man. This is just not, it's not great. It's just not great. I don't know what else to say. I don't like them. But what I will say is that if they do come out with a new undead line, first of all, that's automatically a win. I don't care about anything else. All I want is new undead models, new zombies, new thralls, whatever they're going to call them. I think the way to supersede my expectations and like blow me away in a way that I didn't know I wanted was if they came out with undead sculpts for various species. So if their new zombie kit included like 1 or 2 undead orcs, 1, Saurus warrior, those kinds of things, maybe an elf or a dwarven, all those kinds of things. I think that's how they could like take me in a direction I didn't know I needed. Because I bet it would be friggin' sweet. So anyway, I'll throw that there. And I'm just going to look at the chat. I guess I don't want to fall too far behind because this is something we're all super excited about. So I just keep throwing it in there. Will we get a new Mortark, and will it be Vlad? We have no idea, although we already have a Mortark sort of Mortark of Soul Blight stuff in Neferotis. I do not know, but I'd love to see just more models. I don't know how else to say. Like, I just want to see more stuff. Nathan, do you think we're getting a vampire battle tome based on what we've seen? I'm a little worried vampires will just be a Broken Realms update. Very curious on your opinion. I do believe that we are getting a full battle tome because they have a full army name. How that battle tome will interact with the others, we're not quite sure, because Broken Realms seems to be kind of changing the landscape of how Grand Alliances sort of work. So I do believe it is a full battle tome. I just don't know when it's going to come out, to be honest with you. Typically with a release event or with a preview event, I always kind of in my mind say, if I see it at a preview, it'll probably be out in the next 3 months. And so that's kind of how I look at these things. So it could be a bit, but I do think it's a battle tome. I'm hoping for an actual victory from the living. Just side of order, this isn't 40k. We don't need evil victories all the time. I agree. Or I'd even be okay with a Pyrrhic victory where, you know, the good guys win, but it costs them so much that you have to ask whether or not it was worth it. Or sort of like a soft win, like say the Realm Gate Wars, when they launched an attack on every Allgate at once just to try and close as many as possible. They closed, I think, half, right? Because there was it 3 that the forces of chaos had, 3 that non-chaos had, and then there was 2 that nobody could use, essentially. It was something like that. But they achieved their mission in some form of shutting chaos out of the realms, generally, but not completely. So it was a win with an asterisk of, like, you know, hand wavy. I'm really hoping Grugny shows up with a steel chair and free Valea. I don't know who. I mean, I don't really know much about Valea, but I've heard the name dropped quite a bit. Let's see. What if not order, but death is the one that fractures? Oh, like Nagash's hold on everything gets kind of shattered a bit. Mordian57 has won the chat, ladies and gentlemen. That is a cool idea. Like the idea that, you know, maybe initially in Broken Realms Techless, Nagash is, as we know him now, with, you know, teeming masses, undead, all that kind of stuff, but maybe Techless does something to limit or cut off his connection to some of his, like, servants, and so it kind of isolates him just a smidge, and so now we have death factions that have all different kinds of motives and views on Nagash now that they're a little bit more free. That would be so cool. Oh my gosh, that'd be cool. Nikki, good day from the Netherlands. Hey, buddy. That's awesome. Hey, thanks for joining us. Chaos Incarnate, do you think Nagash will die like he usually does so the infighting of death factions can be what breaks Shyish? Oh, see, I think that's a great way to facilitate exactly what Mordian57 just said. Yeah, of just having some way in which all of the death factions are either at each other's throat or gain an immense amount of autonomy. So yeah, absolutely. I would love that. That'd be cool. I mean, I don't know. I mean, because the thing is, when you put Nagash on the table, like, they're not going to do anything that would mean Nagash can't be on the table, or he's not dead. But when you put Nagash on the table, it's not actually him in all of his glory. It's like an aspect or an embodiment of him. He constructs a new body right there, shows up, kicks tail, and walks away. Because actual Nagash doesn't leave Nagashazar very much, but he can throw kind of his presence anywhere, much like all the other gods can. My point is, I wonder if it's possible that they, like, shatter him in some way. So, like, there are multiple instances where he can kind of beam around, but he's not quite the same all-encompassing power that he was before. So I'm interested. There's a lot of ways they can go with it, and I'm here for all of them. This seems like a good time to make my Ossiarch army. I've been crafting the lore for Bone Boys, who were tasked with taking the realm of metal and were coated in metals for their trouble. That's an awesome idea. Honestly, the red metallic, the candy red metallic thing of whatever the sub-faction that people complained about was, that's my favorite. Whatever the super broken upon launch one was. Zombies and skellies are still better than Marauders. I'll give you that one. They're at least on par with Marauders. The skeletons, I think, are slightly better. I agree with you there. They look like 80s zombies movies. Yep, exactly. Let's see. I'm going to skip ahead just a smidge because you guys are responding to one another. If you have a question for me or something specifically you want me to address, go ahead and throw like, question in all caps or 2+ stuff in all caps, something like that, so I can kind of see it a little bit easier. I want undead civil war. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Or, that he's not necessarily dead, but just he's crippled in some capacity. So then the scheming and the machinations of his underlings can like supersede or at least kind of become parallel to him in terms of like a power vacuum. Because that's the kind of stuff that Neferata and Manfred are all waiting for. And I think the wild card, surprisingly, the wild card that I'm most excited for in Broken Realms Techless is Arcan the Black. Because if you don't know, Arcan is like the most loyal servant of Nagash, right? Manfred's kind of his war guy. Neferata is sort of his intrigue and like scheming, that kind of thing. A lot of guile and deception. But Arcan is like the religious fervor, okay, of Nagash is all are Nagash. But there's hints from the book Soul Wars where he has his own motives. Like he has his own desires. He's not just a vessel for Nagash. And so that is a very intriguing thing that I want to hear more about. So I wonder if he's going to tip the scales in some way. I don't know. Like I said, wild card. Let's see. Do you think Manfred could use this as an opportunity to sever his ties with Nagash? Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I was just talking about. Yep. 100%. Let's see. I was thinking anvils of... Oh, wait, hold on a second. I was thinking anvils of Held and Hammer. Are the implications of their life since they have already been dead? I don't quite understand the question as far as, like, what the anvils of Held and Hammer? I mean, if they send a Stormcast host, I'm sure it's going to be them, if that's what you mean. Yeah, that would just make way too much sense. I think that would be rad. Because the anvils, if nothing else, we also know that they have a permanent base in Glim's Forge now. So, absolutely. Nathan V, can you kit bash your own vampirates, though? You could. If one wanted to, you absolutely could. Question, who are the spirits in Night Haunt if the Realm of Death has an afterlife for everyone? Well, that's a great question, David, and I can actually answer that one. You see, in the Realm of Death, so let's say, actually let's not even get there yet. We have a society, we have a small tribe, and we believe that, let's just put Vikings in the Age of Sigmar universe, right? We believe when we die, the worthy go to Valhalla, that kind of thing. So essentially what happens is that your belief in it creates a pocket realm in Shyish where Valhalla is real, okay? Your tribe, when heroes die, they go there. However, once your tribe dies out or changes beliefs or is absorbed into something else, and there's people who don't remember or believe in that afterlife, it begins to kind of decay and fall apart, okay? And so when that happens, the soul stuff from there, anyone who's there, basically is at Nagash's whim. Now that's a natural way of doing it, of just as belief in a specific afterlife fades away. There's also the fact that he can just come in and, being so powerful with death magic, just take what he wants. And so there's kind of this duality of like, well, there's a natural aspect of it where things fade away over time. And of course, given the extreme amount of time and tribes that were lost and armies that were destroyed and beliefs that were subjugated and eradicated, like there's actually quite a few undead that would have naturally been at Nagash's disposal as a result of that. So yes, believing in an afterlife creates it, but it's nothing's permanent, right? Nagash is the only permanent thing. So there we go. So yeah, that's probably how I would describe that to folks. Let's see. You think Cities of Sigmar should have a city based in every realm instead of just like 4 in Akshi? Totally. I do. I think it makes sense for them to have a city built in every realm where they have closed the realm gate. So that is Ghiran, Akshi, Oh, was there a third one that Order got? It wasn't Shaman, because Archeon was there kicking teeth in. It wasn't Shyish, because Nagash screwed them over. It wasn't Hish or Olgu, because no one came back from memories from there. And it wasn't... I guess, yeah, it's just those in his ear. They should at least have one in his ear. How about that? Yes, I think they should. Absolutely. Let's see. But it seems to me, at least thematically, that they're tying where cities are located to the Rumgate Wars with what gates have been closed in order to build a secure place. So, Donald, I'd be fine to see Manfred killed off by Nagash and Neferata doubles down in the power vacuum. I'd be fine with that as well, but I don't think it'll happen just because there are actually quite a few Black Library novels for both Manfred and Neferata. So, yeah, I think we're stuck with them both. Thank you for flipping to camera just while I was talking. Wait. Thank you for flipping to camera while just talking and not referencing the site. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just like to chat. We're going to get back into the news. That's why I have the screen still pulled up here. But, Ryan, hope you have a good week as well. It's more they able to resist the Nagash. Let me see here. Wait, hold on a second. It's more how are they able to resist Nagash and are not taking any more damage since they were in Nagash's realm. That has to do with... Sigmar, basically, when either Nagash or Sigmar or any of the gods fiddle with souls, there just seems to be something that is permanent about that. Like when Sigmar takes a soul from Shyish and makes an anvil of the Helden Hammer, there's some part of like Azir, lightning energy, that kind of stuff that is grafted into their soul. And it can't really be removed. We saw in Soul Wars that a soul for the Stormcast Eternal landed in Shyish, and Nagash couldn't truly remove it, but he could modify. And that's kind of what he did. It's the closest he got. So your question about like Anvils of Heldenhammer being in Shyish, how are they not affected? Because they're not quite dead anymore, right? They don't have that same avenue of being dominated by Nagash in the same way that, say, a mortal might be. So that's how I would throw that. Okay. Quick question. Who do you think is more powerful, Kroak or Nagash? Nagash so far. I haven't seen Kroak do a whole lot in the lore, but we've seen Nagash do quite a bit. I'm going to move on to the next news article here, so I apologize for having a little dead screen there for a bit. And kind of in tandem with what we've been talking about, I wanted to actually show the models and talk about the vampire stuff. Obviously, we have the potato camera that is famous. I'll play. I'm going to turn the volume off here, but it's just showing off. Dang it. Show me the models. So we have, I'm going to go into my thoughts here in a hot second, but we have some new Luminesce, where the first Luminesce sub-faction that came out was, the bull guys who are like all about mountains. These are all about wind. That's what they study. It's what they meditate on. I love the idea of this like fox kind of icon on their banner. But certainly the most famous thing about this release has been the mounts. So they have been called everything from kangaroos to gazelles to dinosaurs, like a specific dinosaur that had a head like that. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm into it. Does it make for the worst possible ranged cavalry unit? Like you wouldn't want to shoot a bow off something that looks like it's bouncing around? Absolutely. Does that seem like something that I would be into? Absolutely. I absolutely love it. I'll also say, for what it's worth, even though their helmets also come way up high and they have a little animal motif on them, I like them far more than the bull head that comes out sideways, essentially. So I like them quite a bit. I think you didn't notice the fox banner. Yeah, Willie, it's really cool. There are some sharp details on these dudes. I love the creatures. I put a few memes up when these got kind of previewed over on social media of just like people had a very negative, visceral reaction to them. And I'm just like, AOS is it's just always been weird. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how we didn't expect Kangaroo Calv at some point. But I like them. I like the way they fill out the base in terms of the actual base size, because some, if you know, like some models are just a little bit too big or a little bit too small for their bases. I love it. Wait, it has a fox banner? Yep, here's a picture right here for you, Hunter's Den. That little banner right there is what I was talking about. It's, I mean, I'm sure it's like some, you know, the Axian fox of 1,000 generations or some kind of crazy stuff, but it looks like a fox. Come on. We could just call it what it is. Really like the armor and that kind of stuff. This is kind of the situation I had with Stormcast, where it's like, I don't want a whole army, but I just like this aspect of it, right? Nathan, the weirdness is what I signed up for. That's exactly right. Me too, buddy. I want epic, ridiculous fantasy. So, Mikhail, go ahead and ask your question in a little bit. I answer questions between segments, so we'll go ahead and just hold off on that one. This is an interesting one because it looks like his leg comes way the heck off his base. So it negates all the compliments I gave to the last one. I like them quite a bit. I think by far the best is this. This is the Hero Sculpt. Just open that in new tabs. There we get bigger. There we go. The Axian Fox of 1,000 Generations is now canon. Exactly. Thus it is. And this is their hero guy, who's sort of the equivalent on like a Dracoth type thing. Phenomenal pose. I don't know much to say about it. I don't know why this beast is so much like more. He's just bigger. He's thicker, like in the joints and that kind of stuff. Like, why are they riding different kinds of cav? But I do like him. I like him quite a bit. I love that tail, that effect they did with the stripe pattern on the tail. I don't know. I like it. So then we're going to move down to the thing that excites me the most, and that is, of course, a vampire. So I had mentioned before that if they come out with cool vampire sculpts and a thrall type unit, a good battle line for them, I would be all in, and this is a great start to that. I want to point out here, okay, keep in mind he's standing on a tactical hero rock, as I'm going to go ahead and call it. So his height actually starts probably somewhere around here where my mouse is, right where the rock ends, and it goes up to there. Now think about this for a hot second. You see this mace? That means the mace is about half as tall as him, which is, quite frankly, the most Warhammer weapon to hero ratio imaginable, and I am here for every inch of it. That sounds awkward, but you know what I mean, where it's just like, it just looks absolutely devastating. Let's see. It looks like the power of ancient bloodlines is rising. The mortal realms, just take a look at the blood-sucking fiend who answers to the title of Vampire Lord. When I first saw it, I assumed it was a woman, but someone corrected me online and said that at some point it's referred to with a male pronoun. I don't know. I'm up for whatever. I don't really care. It's one of those things that I'm sure if the model just had a 360 like spun around, it would probably be answered immediately. So, I don't know. Let's see. Did I already miss the conversation about Teclis versus Nagash? Yes, but it wasn't that long ago, so you can just go ahead and flip backwards in time or watch it afterwards. Let's see. Anyway, so yeah, that's the thing that I am most excited for. And now we're going to go into another vampire model. This is going to be a named character. If you don't know, this is from the Warhammer Underworlds. So like think Shadespire, Beastgrave, those kinds of things. One of those warbands for that game. And so those always in the past have presented themselves as a named character with a must-take unit. Like you have to take the unit with the character and vice versa. And so we have a vampire, and that's really freaking cool. As far as I know, I think it's going to be, I don't know, this is the only model they've ever shown like the outline for. And so I'm curious if the rest of the warband will be representative of like the thralls and maybe another hero type guy. So I don't know. I'm interested in that. She looks like an awesome model. I love the pose, like the power pose, the idea of like the two swords just going hog wild. It's basically how I kit out all of my vampires in the Mordheim video game, which I still love. The sword and the hair is a bit derpy. No, it's the best. Oh, it's awesome. I love it. So, let's see. I think... Oh, yeah, and I just wanted to throw this out there. The Meta Watch stuff really isn't my jam because it's about competitive play, and quite frankly, I'm not playing. Most people aren't playing, and I never cared about being competitive. But I wanted to throw it out there because it's an article with Vince and Tom of Warhammer Weekly fame. This is the most smiling from Tom you'll see all week because he did not like the Luminesce Kangaroo Cav. But this is a pretty solid state for Vince. But they do a great breakdown of like basically the strengths of Slaanesh as an army and that kind of stuff. And I thought it was really, really wonderful. So go ahead and check it out. If you're new to the game and you jumped in with Hedonites, you're like, I don't quite understand how this army is supposed to function in comparison to others. They do a really great job of breaking that down. So go ahead there. And that's all I have for the news. What I'm going to do is pause here with this awesome picture of a vampire that I'm so excited for. And I'm going to go ahead over to the chat and answer some questions. So if you asked a question that I missed because the chat kind of blew up when I was talking about vampires and stuff, go ahead and ask it again. Be sure to put question in all caps or, you know, give me a shout out at 2+ Stuff, that kind of thing. Something so I can see it. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start building. I'm going to take a look at some Tinker Turf terrain here. Terrain of Tinker Turfery. Let's see. Let's start with the industrial base set here. So what I'll do is I'll go to the downward cam and we can just hang out like so. Let me get the chat someplace where I can see it very easily. It's always important. There we go. Do you think each faction will only get one update per Broken Realms? Okay, no more Stormcast rules, hopefully lore. I don't have any idea. I'm kind of, I'm excited for this book because I think it will answer that question. Like, it's going to answer a lot of questions just by virtue of, well, will it though? Because here's my thing. Let's say Broken Realms tech list comes out and it never mentions Van Brecht, I think was his name, the Stormcast hero from the first one. It doesn't mention Rokar Gresh, the Deepkin, none of those characters. One could look at that and be like, okay, so each Broken Realms story is wholly self-contained and that kind of stuff, which would be fine. But the thing is about Broken Realms tech list, from what we know, is that it's not taking place anywhere near the events of Morathi. So it's like, is it ignoring the book that came before it, or is it just happening simultaneously in a totally different place? And of course, that logically the characters wouldn't be at two places at once. You know, so I mean, it's one of those things like they could have all of the Broken Realm books be somewhat self-contained, and then whatever the last one is, it comes together and just sums up all the endings and ties up all the threads. So it's hard to say. I don't know if they're done with those characters per se, but maybe they're just shifting to a different battleground temporarily. Let's see. What do you think of the Broken Realms tech list announcement? Yeah, Alex, we talked about it quite a bit earlier, but I'm very excited. I could not be more excited. Let's see. I'm going to pull up some build directions for these guys. Just need to see Sigmar's response. Absolutely. Yes, I am very excited for that. Come on. My computer's being slow. Question. Okay, sorry, wait. 2+ Stuff. What other factions would you guess we see in the Broken Realms? It's going to sound weird, but hear me out. The last time we saw Nagash, he had a green skin army at his doorstep. That was during Soul Wars. And yeah, the fight was going really well. They were not having a problem. But the fact is, there was an army at his doorstep when everything went down. And there's no hint that they truly went away. So my thought is that it wouldn't be unreasonable for Teclis to come and enter the realm and he manipulates destruction factions in such a way that they kind of aid him inadvertently fight Nagash. You know, like Nagash is distracted with the orcs or Iron Jaws over to the right, and I'll attack from the left, kind of a thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some form of destruction faction in there as well. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not quite sure, honestly, because when they say it's basically Lumineth and Death, like just capital D, Death, Grand Alliance. It's like, okay, well that's like 4 or 5 factions, so I don't know. All of them, a few of them, I don't know. Question: what do we think the Gravelord's centerpiece diorama will be? I have no idea, but I would love to see it. Would you consider it likely or unlikely that Nagash would create another Mortarch in a moment of panic when he's invaded by Teclis? It's likely. I mean, he just kind of like pulled Lady O out of nowhere. So I think it's totally possible. The question is, are they going to just, give Neferata or Manfred like a lateral transition to being like, okay, you've been a Mortarch this whole time, but now here's your force, kind of a thing, rather than just being lumped in with legions. Hunter's Den, you're asking about Anvils of Hellhammer. The book Soul Wars is fantastic. There are a few others. I would say just type in Anvils of the Hellhammer on the Black Library website, and I'm sure there's more. I don't have time to do it right now, but go ahead and check it out. Let's see. Question: do we know where Tyrion is at this point? Nope. No idea. Question: maybe it's missed it from one of your videos, but did they ever mention or hinted at why it's called the Broken Realms? No, but there's been a lot of speculation about how it's the aftermath of a lot of tumultuous events where Nagash essentially broke the way that the realms work with the Necroquake. At least Shyish is like inverted, so all the magic's in the center rather than the edges. So like Shyish is just broke, but also it destabilized magic everywhere. I'm assuming there's a few connotations to that name, but no, it's never really stated. Question: do you think we will see more of the newborn? I don't know. I'd like to, if I'm honest. Let me grab something real quick. Okay, sorry about that. I had to plug my phone in. It was beeping at me because it was dying. Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to see more of the newborn stuff. So, let's see. So we got 10. How good are these instructions? These are pretty awesome. Okay. Hold on a second. I'm just trying to get a sense of how they did a great job on these. Okay. So to kind of show you how this is all going together, how this terrain works. It's essentially a 2mm cardstock. I'm going to pop out these parts here. And a little hobby knife. Get those ones out. And then you'll essentially take the glue and do that. And that's how you get some nice three-dimensional, it looks like it has depth, essentially, is what I'm trying to get at. Nice. Smart. Okay. Oh yeah, little glue markers and everything. I'll tell you what, man, if Games Workshop made their models as easy to build as that, I'd be on board. Let's see, I got some glue here. I hope Vince is right. Skaven will be the Necrons for AOS. I don't know what that means. Skaven will be the Necrons. And then explain that to me just a bit more. Let's see. Question, off topic. What are you telling Sigmar the second he plucks you from uncertain death? No thanks. I know what happened to Stormcast. Getting your mind wiped in a hellish existence of eternal battle. Boom. Let's see. Question. Here's one, but it's something I've been trying to get my head around. Can a proper narrative campaign be done in Warcry with a very small group of players, lowest 2 to 3? Lumi, I'm going to answer that question hopefully when I get my copy of the new Tome of Champions that's out right now, where they kind of address that. They made a narrative campaign, but unfortunately I have not had a chance to actually get my hands on it, just because well, I ordered it on pre-order, and after like a month and a half of not coming, I just canceled my order. I was like, I'll just find it locally. I'm tired of waiting. So I have not been able to find it locally at all. But there is, to my understanding, a narrative campaign in there. So I think so. I mean, I do. But it depends on how you're defining, because you use the term proper narrative campaign, so I don't... That has its own connotations that I don't know. You know, people can envision that sentiment very, very differently, is what I'm trying to say. Let's see. What do we say to the God King? Not today, exactly. Ain't nobody got time for this? Says one would-be Stormcast Eternal. Okay, let's see here. Soft question. So does everyone have an overflow of random bits? No, I purge mine. I can't stand it. Vince proposed Skaven line relaunch for AOS 3rd would be similar to Necron's. Oh, okay, yeah. So they'd be like the new big bad for the starter set. I could see that. It would also make Skaven much easier to get into than right now. So absolutely, I'd be cool with that. Another question from Hunter's Den about Stormcast. I mean, do I think they'll get new models in the future? I mean, of course, because they are the poster children. What they'll look like, I have no idea. But then, I'm going to go ahead and say that's a safe bet. It's like saying, are Space Marines ever going to get new models? This is like, always. Let's see. Question, sorry, from 6R. Have you ever considered trying Malifaux? I did. Or I did consider it. I actually reached out to the guys who make Malifaux. And I'll be honest with you, they didn't really seem all that interested in partnering up. And there isn't really a scene here locally. And so, at least as far as I know. So that kind of limits my options. Just a hair. Because like if I don't have the product and there's no local store that I can support to really get it, that kind of stuff. So it's just, or people I can play against. But I love the setting and I love the art for it. It's my kind of like weird, macabre, that kind of stuff. I just love it. Let me see. I play Khorne and I don't think they need new models. Yeah, I mean the Khorne line. Oh, but the Khorne line is so beautiful. Let's see. If you were chosen to become a Stormcast Eternal, which Storm host would you be in? Oh man, that's a tough one. If I could be a Stormcast Eternal, what Storm host would I be a part of? Ooh, actually, I'm actually going to go Handfuls of Heldenhammer just because I kind of like... I like that they are the good guys, and when we see them talking, they do have personality and like perspective and wisdom because they've already lived full lives in their first life. But at the same time, like as much as they are quiet and that kind of stuff, they are also bellicose when it comes to war. So I think that there's some really cool things there. Let's see. Sweet, get to hang out while counting inventory. Hey, Corey, what's up, buddy? Corey is the sweetest person ever, and wants some Blood Bowl content on the channel, and we will deliver. Let's see. Do you organize them by arms, legs, wounds, that kind of stuff? I mean, so I know you're asking somebody else, but when I have bits like that, I typically will organize them by like style. So like I'll have a Nurgle bin where I just go look for Nurgly things, and I'll have, you know what I mean, that kind of stuff. Where when I do, but like I said, I purged almost all of it in the move, because I was like, I don't need to travel cross country with all these bits. Okay, man, there's a lot of stuff in here. Okay. Right, so we got that, and then 12 and 13, which would be Stu. Let's see. I have my, oh, okay. I'm going to read your response here, Brandon, because I'm curious about your experience with Malifaux. Let's see. Had my local store purge their stock of Malifaux just because prior to the pandemic, Weird Games marketing wasn't friendly in supporting the local gaming store by pushing customers to buy. Interesting. On their website with promotions and not supporting them with local event. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, man, that's such a tightrope to walk as a miniatures / game company, where it's just like, obviously you have the highest profit margins of people coming directly to you, and you cut out the middleman. At the same time, supporting local stores and small gaming communities is how you stay relevant as a game. I don't begrudge them. But hey, someone from Weird is watching. What's up? I'll talk about you, game. Let's see. I thought I missed one. Hunter's done a question on being a Stormcast Eternal. Am I the only one who thinks it's a bit twisted? What happens to them? Like you die, lose part of yourself each time. Oh yes, it's very messed up. But it's interesting because that wasn't seen as a negative too much when their army first got released. Like people were like, oh, so there's just no consequences. The good guys can just keep coming back. And I'll be honest, I think they kind of they eased up on the nasty parts of the reforging process. Like I feel like it hasn't come up in the last few books as much as it did or used to. But overall, I think it's still a pretty brutal process of destroying yourself in an effort to serve / save others. 1 out of 10 would not do again. That's my Yelp review of being an eternal warrior who's not allowed to die. Let's see. Question. I just saw it. Where would it go? How do you think Flesh Eater Courts will react to the Soul Blight? They have always been here, seeing how they got the Blood Knights. But in what light does Flesh Eater Courts see Soul Blight? Well, that's a great question. And the answer is there isn't really an answer. Because there's a few things going on. One, at the heart of it, Flesh Eater Courts are led by vampires. It's just that they also have this curse that deforms them and makes them all crazy. Like, they're not all vampires, of course, but the ghoul kings and those kinds of things are. It's just, like I said, horrible curse. The second part of that question, though, is that When Flesh Eater Courts are the only death army as of the time now that can be utterly and completely opposed to Nagash in every conceivable way. And the reason that is because how they view other death stuff is entirely dependent on the nature of their specific delusion, and each court has their own, I'm going to say, wily whims when it comes to how they perceive Nagash and other death and that kind of stuff. Like, for example, in oh man, it wasn't Soul Wars, it was the one where they revealed, what was the supplement where they revealed all the Storm Vaults? I can't remember the name of it now. But in that, they also introduced the idea of allies, and there were Flesh Eater Courts who were fighting Nighthaunt because they perceived them as an enemy. But also, there are stories of where the Flesh Eater Courts perceived Nighthaunt as poor souls that just need saving and love and, you know, and be taken care of. So they have pity on them. So it really just depends. There's no definitive answer. Yeah. What are you building, Doug? Agent Nagash, I am building some crazy awesome terrain from Tinker Turf. It is this like super thick reinforced cardstock that is about as bendable as actual plastic. And I don't know. Yeah, so there's a link in the description down below if you are interested. I'm going to talk about it more throughout the week because these guys are awesome. But yeah, they sent me some stuff just to kind of get giveaways going and promote a Kickstarter they got going on, and it's just really cool. Let's see. Forbidden Power, thank you so much. I don't know why my brain just totally skipped a beat there. Let's see. Please use tips and tricks video. Okay, sorry for the quiet. I'm just researching how to do some of these things. Okay, so. Okay, I'm tracking. It's one of those things that they actually have this designed in such a way that it's like so simple that I'm overthinking it. There we go. Ooh. Let's see. In this setting, I'd rather my soul go fighting off actual evil than be slave to jerk god of death. Well, yeah, that's why you go soulbound. I do think soulbound is probably the best fate in terms of, you know, you get your life of action, but your retirement plan is probably the best in the mortal realms in that you don't have to go to Nagash. Okay, so those, what else we got? I see. Okay. So then they go together like this. And that's how you form your support struts. Yeah. That's cool. Okay, I'm punch these out real quick. I can read the chat and then do this because this is pretty mindless, just punching out stuff. But let's see. On the Soul Blight topic, I would love to see them as a really elite army with powerful heroes and ability to take skeletons and Nighthaunt as battle line. My red-black Nighthaunt army would look so good. Oh, well, first of all, you should just take them with your Nighthaunt just cause. Yeah, I don't know. You know what I will say? Here's what Doug will say. I don't know what the army's going to look like in terms of how it's functioned and that kind of stuff. One thing I do want, since this will be, you know, obviously like one of the other bigger death releases since Nighthaunt, obviously Bone Reapers is the last big one, but I want to be sure that every unit that is Soul Blight specific, or all the new units that they get, I just want them to be better in Soul Blight as a faction than in Legions of Nagash. Like, I don't want to have the same issue that Nighthaunt has, where it's like Nighthaunt are just in a rough place competitively, but everybody takes Legions of Nagash. Why? Because Grimghast Reapers and Legions of Nagash are just better. It's like, well, I think a unit should always be best in its own army. You know, I like the idea of how Grand Alliances work, but I don't know. I kind of like it the other way around. Then again, Nagash, their death is a little bit unique in how they are structured, so I suppose that's fair. Hey, I'm here. What terrain is that? Hey, Ben, buddy, what's up? It's been a bit. I should text you afterwards. Yeah. This is Tinker Turf Terrain, and there's a link to it in the description down below. Well, I mean, it's a link to a Kickstarter they're running for their next wave of stuff, but they already have like a ton of products already out there. So if you're looking for what already exists, you can just log on there. But essentially, it is this reinforced cardboard terrain that is perfect for like Necromunda or 40k. Or Infinity, or really any kind of sci-fi themed thing. Yeah. And it is cool as heck. So let's see, we gotta do these first. Okay. And it says use a generous amount of glue, but I don't know if they anticipated just how generous I can be. Let's see. Yep, perfect. Let's see. Gorkamorka is the real best option here. Yeah, but I don't... Does Gorkamorka have a retirement plan? I feel like ultimately everything just kind of dies and ends up in Shyish anyway, right? Like, what's his look like? I don't know. Let's see. Question: new zombies or an army of only Soul Blight? Battle line is lesser Soul Blight. It's not really a question. Are you asking what I'd prefer? Like a super elite army that's just vampires, or some kind of thrall or whatever? I go thrall because I want there to be some lesser thing that the vampires can like have disdain for. They're like, I hate using these guys. They're a bunch of losers, right? These stupid zombies. They don't matter to me at all, and yet they're an integral part of how they function. Like, I think that's a cool. A noble is nothing without his people kind of a deal. Let's see. What is this game? So as far as like the main topic of Age of Sigmar, it's a miniatures game set in a fantasy setting. If you're asking what terrain am I building, this is actually from a company called Tinker Turf, which is more for sci-fi games like Necromunda and that kind of stuff, which are stuff that you can also find on the channel. All right, looks like we got that right. Aha, I see. This is a cool thing. Like, you're basically building plug and play terrain that you can like customize quite a bit. Nice stream name. Yes. I was like, oh man, what's I gotta come up with something that's just vaguely vampire-y. So for me, trying to think of what I'd want, like spell or unit wise. I think New Blood Knights is a given. What else do I want? I want New Blood Knights. I want like a dedicated, I mean, obviously I think there's going to be like a dedicated lore of vampires, right? Like their actual spell lore that's in their book. But in addition to that, I'd also like to see just some really like classic style, like necromancy abilities on some of the individual war scrolls, that kind of thing. Let's see. They need new bloodlights. It's ridiculous. Oh, you don't want to pay $100 for 5 dudes? Because if that bothers you, you can always go, you know, just convert some, you know, Varangard who are 100 for 3. I laugh to keep from crying on that one. But, oh man. Let's see, should have one more set. Aha. One thing I will say, I'm sorry I'm being a little quiet, guys. I do apologize. This is why I typically don't build on stream, but I really am excited to get cranking on some stuff for these guys because they were so kind to me. I am going to be doing a stream tomorrow. It probably soon after the preview event ends, so you can join me for that. I'm very, very, very excited. Yeah, you know, the Luminesce stuff, you either like it or you don't. I think we can all agree as people who enjoy fantasy that, like, vampires are just exciting. Why are Blood Knights $100 US? I don't know, but here's what I do know. Whatever justification there is not good enough. And that's why everybody loved kit bashing up Blood Knights out of Dragon Princes, whatever the high elf unit used to be. Or Chaos Knights, they also look fantastic. Okay. Now I want to show this off because this is how simple terrain building should be. This is the directions I'm working with, where it's just a few pictures. They got the numbers outlined. Oh, it's beautiful. It's just nice and sweet and simple. And they're basically just teaching you how to fill, make the little standees, and then you construct like the pylons that hold them up. This is nice. So it's kind of, it's nice. It's kind of mindless, but like in terms of just, it just kind of goes, you just kind of keep chucking away at it. I will say it's far less soul crushing than when I was building the Necromunda terrain, or I didn't build it, my buddy Ben built it, and then I was painting it. Question, are you trying to say that Soul Blight line needs new blood? Oh my gosh. That hurt. That hurt to read, but I love it. I'm here for it. Okay, let's see. So we got these. So this one's going to need 6 and 11 and 6 and 8. Okay. Six and 6, and where's it at? Let's see. Let me ask this for everybody in the chat. Would you want a new Mortark? I'm curious about that because, you know, obviously there's a whole bunch of people who are like, bring back Vlad. Sorry, I don't know why that was so hard for me to say. And I'm not sure that I want that. Like, I kind of like, as this has been pointed out by other folks, he really did have a complete story, you know? And him and Isabella and that kind of stuff, where it's just like, we could leave that there. We could put a pin in that and just walk away. But I'm curious of your guys' thoughts. I almost botched that good because I wasn't paying attention. New Mortark, Harkon. I know that name, Harkon. What's Harkon from? Maybe I'm thinking Hark Huron. I don't know. At a certain point, all the names start to bleed together. Here we It's like my first year of doing videos. Constantly in the comments, I was getting reprimanded because I kept confusing the pronunciations for Arcan and Archaon. I was just like, well, you know what? If GW cared, they wouldn't have made them so similar. And that was an old world problem too. You can't blame that on AOS. Let's see. Don't know if you saw the question, but Anvils of the Hammer, Helden Hammer, Black Wings? Sure. If you're asking to paint like prosecutors or whatever, yeah, absolutely, go for it. Have whatever you would like. But no, I'm sorry, I did miss the question. Chat's moving pretty fast, and I am woefully distracted by how excited I am with this, like, what is essentially a kick-ass puzzle. There we go. Nice. Snap down nice and firm. Just going to hold that for a hot sec. I'm going to read the questions here to my right. Vlad could be, in my opinion, super interesting as one as an independent one. Oh, like an independent, like he's not bound by Nagash kind of a thing. Yeah. Question, bordering on feeling like a jackass for asking this over and over again, but curious. Dead and Divine. Thoughts, speculations, hopes, dreams, aspirations? No. As far as the release event goes, I don't have any, like, honestly, okay. I'm gonna hashtag real talk you. Let's see. I predict they're going to show us the full Underworlds warband, and probably some kind of base battle line unit, because I think that the Underworld warband is going to have, you know, like a thrall or something equivalent in there. And so I do believe that there's going to be some aspect that, like, let's see what's going on here. Looks like this one I didn't push it in. Yeah, I do believe there's going to be some kind of thrall aspect to that warband, just because I think it would really represent the faction well. As far as, like, just death goes, of just having little tiny minions run around and do your thing. Yeah. Here we go. Much better. All right, so that would be my guess. Vampires and some kind of base thrall unit, and then what's the second thing I think they're going to be? You know, obviously the Luminesce, we've seen them. I'm sure there's going to be some large centerpiece model, much like the Moo Cow, the big Moo Cow, Alarth dude. You know, I'm sure there's going to be something like that, where he pops. You know, they have like a, whatever their embodiment or avatar of the wind is. But yeah, that's about all I got for that. I'm not sure what that would even be. Like, what, obviously they're kind of going with gazelle kangaroo style things for the way that the wind kind of looks. But I'm not quite sure how that looks in terms of, like, a giant model that would kind of represent that. You know what I mean? It seems kind of a weird thing. I don't know. I also wouldn't be hurt if it was more like a, not in terms of, like, mechanics, but, like, in terms of, like, physical appearance. If it was more like an endless spell where it's kind of like a swirling ethereal type thing, I think that would be cool too. A gigantic fox would be amazing. Oh yeah, I'd be down for a giant fox. But here's the problem with the fox. Are you ready? How many "what does the fox say" jokes are we gonna get? Like, honestly, like, that would just blow up. Again, callback from 2013 if you don't remember that. What does the fox say? Give it a quick Google and let your brain melt a little bit. I think that those jokes would be unceasing. Relentless, and I don't know if they would go that far. No, I think they would. Who am I kidding? I just talked about how we should all be ready for Kangaroo Cav. There we go. Nice solid snap in there. And let's see. I'm personally looking forward to some awesome vampire bats. What do you think of a giant fell bat vampire riders? Oh, like as cavalry? I would be down for that. Especially, you know, because I can't remember a time where they, like a more modern time where they've tried doing bats specifically, like in terms of like art design and that kind of stuff. Like, I think they could do a much better job, obviously, than the bat swarms of yore. And if you haven't seen those old models, go check them out. They're good for a chuckle. 2, 4, 6, 8, 8, 12. Okay. They are quite good for a chuckle, I will say that. So I don't know. I'd love to see that. Okay, so let's just ramble off. Agent Nagash inspired me. Let's ramble off some cool things that we want to see. So you got vampire cav, like bat cav. What would I want? I think I wouldn't be surprised if it was an elite army that really focused on regeneration. I would love mechanics where you like basically kill your thralls in order to achieve your things. So like, you know, sacrifice a thrall to regain wounds, or, you know, have better chance of casting a spell or that kind of stuff. So like you use your own army as a resource mechanic. I think that could be really cool, because then at the end of it, you know, when your troops are getting spent, what will remain would at that point be a super powerhouse hero piece, and I think that would be really cool. So I think that that's for me. That's more mechanical than model-wise. Model-wise, I'd love to see a chariot. We haven't seen a lot of chariots, but I'd love to see like a very extra, to use the youth words, vampire who like comes in on a chariot and is just like, you know, look at how regal I am, that kind of thing. Would be really stinking fun. What else? But with the chariot, probably pulled by undead horses, just, you know, keep it more traditional, I think. But yeah, no chariots, you hate them. What? Chariots are the best. Oh, we got, thank you so much, Brandon. Oh, that's so kind of you. Question, do you think Chaos or Death corrupted Stormcast would be more likely? Nagash does think the souls are stolen. Well, Brandon, I got a special treat for you, my friend. I'm going to spoil it because the book's been out for like a couple years now. In the book Soul Wars by Josh Reynolds, Nagash gets a hold of a Stormcast soul and tinkers with it. So if you would like to see the closest thing that we have towards Deathcast, it is in that book. It was written by Josh Reynolds, my favorite, who sadly doesn't write for Black Library anymore, but that's all right. Would love to see Luminesce Wizard summoning tornadoes. Oh yeah, that'd be great. Like kind of like ethereal wind around him and that kind of thing. I don't know. Let's see. Pure speculation, but do we think that they could lean into the vampire changing into a bat thing? Possibly. You know, like there's a shape-shifting aspect to them. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen any models that made me think that. You know, other than like the bats in the hair is a bit strange, but it's not necessarily a transformation per se. But I would be super for that. Like if there, I mean, honestly, I just started playing World of Warcraft and I'm a druid. So the idea of like shape-shifting anything, it just sounds awesome to me because my guy turns into a little cat and I like him. Why? Because digital Doug has to be a cat person just as much as regular Doug. Also, I was going to throw this out there. Cats are better than dogs. What? All right, so let's see. Just some vampire, elite vampire infantry. New cab would be great. Yeah, what I wouldn't mind is if... I wouldn't mind if there was like a thrall unit. So I call them thralls just because I think zombies is not quite what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something a little bit more elite. And I wouldn't mind if it was like a 10-man unit that goes up to 20, and that's it. All right, so pretty small horde-wise. But to support them were like, you know, young bloods, like vampires that were just changed. They still are like relishing in their new power and they want to be on the field, and they kind of act like your berserker unit. There's aggressive melee, whereas the zombies or thralls would be more your chaff, that kind of a thing. I think that could be really cool. What else? Oops, just dropped what I needed. I think that would be rad. What else? Oh, Vincey, buddy, thank you so much. I want to see pure vamps heal, self-heal in combat phase, and possibly a command ability to fight on death. Wacky, aggressive recursion. That, honestly, yeah. I mean, there's nothing more vampire-y in terms of how they've traditionally been portrayed in game mechanics than that. So yeah, that would be super cool. Thank you so much, buddy. Let's see. These now. Alliance or Horde? I went Alliance because the only reason I'm playing WoW is because I have my buddy Ben from Virginia. He plays there, and so I just look for any opportunity just to hang out with people. And that's basically all there is to it. What I'm finding is it's not the game that, like, I see why people can get lost in it, but it just doesn't strike me as that kind of thing for me. Like, I play it here and there. I'm trying to like aggressively level so I can do like dungeons and stuff like that with Ben at the same level, that kind of thing. But I mean, I'm not. I would much rather read my soulbound rulebook than travel the fjords of Azeroth, as it were. It doesn't hit that same button. Young Bloods, package itself to GW. Well, you know, given the fact that they have Blood Angels as an army, I think they've already used Young Bloods in their Games Workshop name generator about 1,000 times. No thralls, vamps. Nah, I want the thralls too. I want the undead servants in some capacity. They don't have to be like traditional zombies. Actually, I would kind of prefer that they're not. But what about vampire familiars? Okay. That's interesting. Question, how about vampire courts for their sub-factions? Each choose an agenda to progress in power through battle, where you have to meet certain conditions. Yeah, absolutely. That's honestly, it's kind of not too dissimilar from sagas in the Space Wolves Codex, but it's a cool idea where it's like, you know, in their version of it, like they're building a legend. But that could absolutely translate super well into like, hey, I'm a vampire, and when I win this, I'm going to get social currency that I can use to enact my will in the courts. And so like that kind of concept is really, really cool. And I think super doable. I mean, like they've done it before, like I said. Blood Claws, that's what they're called. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's right, Blood Claws. But you know, honestly, if the vampire counts, or you know, Soul Blight book that we're getting, turns out to pretty much just be like a fantasy version of Space Wolves, where when I say Space Wolves, I don't mean like the actual lore. I just mean like in terms of army construction, it's largely centered around heroes and that kind of stuff. I'd be super down for that. I would be down because ultimately I think that to me exemplifies Soul Blight. Is just focusing on a few characters that are all trying to backstab each other. I'd love it if vampires were super expensive and like super good, but they got better if you had multiples near each other, like they're trying to compete. Kind of like how Rune Sons have a special rule where as they're all competing with one another, they get better on the field. So like if there's a Rune Son and another one within 6 inches, they both get better because now they're like competing against one another. I think that would be a really intriguing mechanic. Or it could be if it was done well, because that way you would have these expensive hero hammer pieces, but you're incentivized to keep taking more and more and more, which then would obviously you're then trying to ride the balance between too many heroes points wise and the bodies you need to win the game, kind of a thing. Aren't Blood Knights metal still? Maybe, I don't know. They're on the page. They're on the Games Workshop page. You can check it out. I don't recall. There's a good chance they are. Hi Doug. Hey everyone. Hey Ronnie. I'm an AOS death player. Looking forward to some vampires. Hoping they'll be powerful and not just 5 wound heroes. Yeah, agreed. I think that's kind of what I'm more anxious to see. Of like, you know, we understand vampires in the current understanding of AOS, but that's obviously not quite enough to get excited about an army for it. They're gonna have to like reinvent something a smidge. And they better be gold at that price. Yeah. Okay. Let's see, now we're going to build some legs. Okay, what numbers am I looking for? 21 and 20 and 18, 19. No, okay. Let's see. They're probably right in front of me. I'm just not even seeing them. Isn't that always how it goes? Oh, yes. Here they are. Yeah. We'll put these over here. We'll get the rest of these big old blocky things out of the way. Boop. Extra chunky and durable. Yeah. What if it's 5 wounds hero that are on par with Anointed on Foot? That would be annoying. I played against one of those and they're not easy. Neon Flux, any idea why there is no Redemptionist in Necromunda anymore? Do they plan to add them later on? I've never heard any, never heard one way or the other if they plan to have the Redemptionists in there. I know very little about them, to be perfectly honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if they were hesitant, like, how were this, like maybe, what's the garbage people clan? I can't think of the name. Like that's as far into the world of like religion and beliefs as they want to go. It's not Escher. Oh my gosh, Cawdor. There we go, Cawdor. Yeah. They were just like, and we're gonna leave the zealotry here, right? And that was like their point of like, no mas. Because it was just a different climate in the 80s. You can probably do a lot more things that were not super cool. Look at that. That's a nice little innovative way to build a leg. I like that. So, okay, so the way that this functions, if you have been watching and are curious about how this terrain works, essentially what we did was we built platforms with these nice pegs, and then you just stick the peg in there. And it becomes, I'm not going to push all the way in because this is still drying, but it becomes like a semi-permanent peg, and it's nice and reinforced and that kind of stuff. So it's just like, shoot, dang, that's cool. Okay. Like I said, it does feel like you are building a puzzle. Almost. Come on, here we go. And 19. But I would love to see it. Honestly, I'd love to see. I don't necessarily need more time to come back as a game, but I would love to see some of its aesthetic influences in AOS more. Like, even if it's just Warcry, like I would love a Sisters of Sigmar styled unit for that. So, you know, they can have a lot of breathing room when it comes to like their design space and everything, but I really think it would be cool to see at least some kind of homage to that older stuff. They are without a doubt my favorite faction in the Mordheim video game. Mainly because they're just very straightforward. Run up, punch people in the face. Let's see. And the last one, I think these will be the last things I build. Just because I got some other stuff to do today. Let's see. I just want an AOS game with the Mordheim engine as a base. See, I do and I don't. I think it's a product of its time. It's a little bit aged. It can be streamlined quite a bit to make it, frankly, more appealing for new audiences. But I do like some of the roleplay elements from Mordheim in terms of like injuring players and accruing gangs and trying to keep, you know, kind of the way that the whole campaign system works, where it's like you're constantly trying to send Weirdstone back. If you're not familiar with how Mordheim works, essentially you're trying to get resources and you're always sending some of those resources back, but you're balancing it with money and having real bills to pay and that kind of stuff. So there is sort of a roleplay element to it. Much in the same way that I would say Necromunda is a great median between role-playing and miniatures games. I'm building some customized Escher gang right now. Nice! That's awesome! Nice, nice, nice. I'm actually excited to try and use this for Star Wars Legion as well. Say it's just a shipwreck on Jakku, if you're familiar with Battlefront 2, the game. The kind of worn, weathered look really actually works well with that. All right. Well, I've rambled on for quite a bit. What are we at now? Hour 40? Okay, well, friends, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go ahead and hop off. But I will say this before I leave. I will be live tomorrow. I'm going to be building more stuff. I'm going to be doing a review of all the previews and stuff that we saw, going through it, reading the articles for folks who are driving and things like that. So please join me for that. It'll be after the live stuff from Games Workshop. And so I'll be happy to see you there. I'll be building more of this. Tinker Turf is going to be pretty much the sponsor for the week because they were so generous and I want to help them and I want them to succeed with their Kickstarter and stuff. So I think you can pretty much see why. And I got one more question here. Oh, Brandon, let's go answer that one real quick here. After thinking a couple weeks, I just subscribed on Patreon. Support this awesome guy. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, buddy. That is super kind of you. I really appreciate it. I hope that you enjoy the content that I have planned for this week. We have huge things coming up between the Soul Blight Battle Tome, Broken Realms Techless. I'm going to do a series on Anvil Guard, like a deep walkthrough of the city based on the Cubicle 7 Soulbound, the role-playing game. They actually have like a city guide and that kind of stuff. And the reason I'm going to do that is because now it's Harcuron, but a lot of the same properties would transfer if a city just took new management. So I think it's going to be awesome. So I hope you join me for all of those things. It's going to be incredible. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Y'all, happy wargaming. I'll catch you tomorrow.